Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and today I'm going to talk about Missing Link. This is the fifth stop-motion animated feature film from Laika. At this point in their kind of career, they're getting more seasoned. You can see the complexity of the animation and the technology that they're using in their animated features, which I really like, especially the way the camera moves in this feature. But usually when you get a director or an animation studio to a certain point, they get to a point where they kind of take on more of a structured type of film, a film that they know that they can do, like an easy adventure film, like how Spielberg did Tintin, something like that, something that seems like a very obvious thing that they can absolutely do and no problems with that. And in a lot of ways I felt that with Missing Link, because I think it's a very tight script. It might be actually their tightest script that they've ever done. This is very much a riff on the kind of H.G. Wells, Jules Verne kind of adventure kind of stories or adventure films, but those are based on books, so, you know, check your source material, I guess, whatever influenced them, I don't know. The whole idea of like one-upping this adventure club and everything like that, I've seen this film and this story many times before, but the way Laika kind of stays within that kind of a structure while also doing kind of the beats of an animated film, having this like antagonist within that, having this kind of believe in yourself sort of thing. It reminds me a lot of what Disney did with Zootopia, which was taking the kind of buddy cop comedy, which I don't think you could really do anymore. You couldn't really do an H.G. Wells and Jules Verne kind of a story. Look at Atlantis, that didn't work out. Both the city and the Disney movie. They managed to sort of free it from being so stuck within one of those while also doing an animated film, and it feels very smart. I really liked how they went about this. I thought it was very tight in what it was doing in terms of its script. I don't know if I've ever really fallen in love with a Laika film. There's very few of them I've watched more than once. The technical aspect I've always really appreciated. That's partly why I see them in theaters, because like Kubo and the Two Strings has some of the greatest stop motion animation I've ever seen, and I think Missing Link doesn't drop the ball on that at all. There's particularly scenes in the ship where there's the kind of chase on the ship where the ship's going up and down with the waves, the action's moving all over the place, and you wouldn't get that fluidity if you saw it in live action. It wouldn't work that well. They would want to call too much attention to it, and Laika moves by it so quickly. It reminds you of, you know, I bring up Fleischer Brothers a lot, but that kind of expressive quality that the Fleischer Brothers often had with their things, I think goes throughout this. It does feel like they can almost do anything, but they're doing so many different things with the technology. It almost feels like they're more willing to go the extra mile and do different things than, you know, not saying they're like more advanced than Aardman, and maybe I am, but I think they're kind of existing in their own kind of like special, weirder kind of, you know, Portland, Oregon-y type of milieu. I heard someone describe it, and I forget if it's like the director of this, Chris Butler, who previously directed Paranorman, or he co-directed that, but this is just, he full directed it, I guess, or whatever, that this is supposed to be like Abbott and Costello's Around the World in 80 Days, or if David Lean directed Abbott and Costello's Around the World in 80 Days, I believe is the quote. It might be from Chris Butler, not sure. And it does have that kind of very epic quality, but I think it also has that camaraderie and the fun of it. It's a really funny kids movie in a really kind of pure, wonderful sort of way, which also reminds me of Zootopia, but I think in this film, you know, the chemistry between Hugh Jackman and Zach Galifianakis, and Hugh Jackman brings this kind of English noblemanness to it. Like Hugh Jackman's such a good like character actor leading man. There's a lot of leading men who say they can do that, and it just means they're eccentric assholes or Johnny Depp's or whatever, and it doesn't really meld as well. But Hugh Jackman is like an actual character actor and really falls into the role that I often forget he's Hugh Jackman. Zach Galifianakis, I don't think I've ever liked him as a comedic foil as much as I liked him in this. Most of the time, like those Hangover movies or whatever, all that stuff, I just like I find it really annoying. So I liked all of the voice cast, but I thought they played off of each other very well, and they had natural charisma, which really made this movie more exciting. Didn't really like the script in Kubo and the Two Strings. I know people love that film, film, but I think in this film, it's not necessarily that this film is the best Laika film, but I think it is just so tight in its execution. There were no times when I was watching it where I was bored or felt like there was a moment that was wasted or anything like that. And sometimes movies like that aren't the coolest or the most interesting, or might have that standout moment because it's all about the construction of it as a whole. But I thought that was a wonderful thing to watch, frankly. I kind of actually want to watch this movie again more because how good it was at doing all these things. And I like the kind of weird character designs in this. I know it's like still a Laika typical design, but I thought they did an interesting thing with it, especially the weird way that like the legs are with the bodies. I thought was really strange. It sort of reminded me of Box Trolls, but Box Trolls is kind of like the one nobody likes, so whatever. Or at least in terms of design, it reminded me of Box Trolls. Just a very good animated adventure film, and much like earlier in this year, we had The Kid Who Would Be King. It feels like this is a very good year for family adventure films somehow. I'm not sure how that happened. I guess between this and Shazam and The Kid Who Would Be King, we're actually having a good like kind of family movie year. I definitely want to watch this with my family, and I like how they're kind of upping their game, especially technical wise, because Kubo and the Two Strings was so hailed, but it doesn't seem like they're holding back. They're really trying to like push this medium forward and forward. It doesn't matter if necessarily these films aren't the biggest hits, unfortunately. I think this film is very watchable and very digestible and very ready for an audience. And it's able to do all this fantastical kind of stuff that you read about in those old school adventure films, and it does it quite seamlessly, you know, while also being a contemporary film. I thought they did that amazingly well. That's not an easy balancing act, and they kind of did it so seamlessly you didn't really realize entirely what they were absolutely doing, which is pretty fucking crazy if you think about it. I appreciate when I get to see these films. I don't think we, or at least I, think about them that much year round, but thinking like how smart they were about the script of this film. But on top of that, you have this wonderful stop motion animation going throughout it. I think Laika is able to do a lot with that. Like, they have this opportunity, but they're there technical wise. And I know like this is their first film really. Travis Knight wasn't as involved, and as a studio I'd say they're a lot more, because he was making Bumblebee. I think he was still involved. He got a producer credit, like he was clearly around, but I think the studio is more solid and more than just, you know, one person. It seems like they have a lot of amazing technicians and amazing directors and amazing things going on there. I don't really want to go say they're underappreciated, because I think they are appreciated. Obviously they've gotten a lot of Oscar nominations and things like that, but I think fully what they're doing is, you know, we don't, as film fans, we get kind of a lot of the same stuff, and I'm not going to go into like why are movies all the same or something, but I think this is a real special treat to behold. And I love seeing the technical aspects that you never see in any other movies be wonderful, and that's fine just seeing that, but to see it with such a solid script to bounce all of that off of kind of highlights how special all of that is. The fact that they have this well-researched kind of interesting script that's really doing something with an adventure kind of plot really was a lot of fun for me as like a film fan who knows those kind of stories, but I think also it works so well as just a solid, awesome adventure film. And when you get a really solid adventure film, you know, I brought up Spielberg earlier, but that's how you get your things like Raiders and things like that, and same with The Kid Who Would Be King and Shazam. As long as you understand what you were doing with that adventure plot, it felt like all their influences, they're wearing them on their sleeve, but in a glorious way, and understanding why they're doing it and how they're twisting it and making it kind of their own. And I really love that about Missing Link. This is a film that really like gives me the joy and the fun that you really get with an awesome adventure film, and it's even more special that it's in stop motion. So if you have seen Missing Link and you would like to talk about it, then comment below in the comments and subscribe if you would like to.